manju shiri ye, namo su shiri ye, namo shi ye su ha, namo manju shiri ye, namo su shiri ye, namo shi ye su ha. 也知道自己从哪来，讲究满足大地告诉自己，大地去年给别从哪里做了分解上业主把说，知道自己从哪来，讲究满足大地告诉自己，大地去年给别从哪里做了分解上业主把说。知道自己从哪来，讲究满足大地告诉自己，大地去年给别从哪里做了分解上业主把说。有些没多长，日后的些年年天把地，上个许多米的发音，这个那那些嘛就嘛有，知道不如让他们到了当地，哎呀。
Tumajina yitsi da da bitsin di mana shikari chimba sada mama chiba chinja ma shikani ma chabani jeje madana dewa da langa polo chiba ne ba ji ne na kichya me jeje madana dewa da deji kisu to ba da dena chimo temba jeje temba da me shawa da shini mala mala shini na su ni chamba ba is
Please adjust your sitting posture according to 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. And think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. And all sentient beings have been my mothers, not just once, but for numberless times. All sentient beings are as kind as my mothers of this life. Even though all kind mother sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering. However, due to engaging wrongly with objects of adoptions and abandonment, they do not experience any happiness but suffering. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings, thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mother sentient beings had excellent happiness. May all kind mother sentient beings have excellent happiness. I will cause all kind mother sentient beings to have excellent happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
is the ordinary continue to Mandina Nijin and Juashi, never lost the Nijin the TV show. Father that on a general. No, I teach you all that which I did a shin, Malama, shin, to see this meditation bridge.
Next, we generate compassion towards all suffering mother sentient beings, thinking, how nice it would be if the bodies of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as physical pain, physical suffering, and problems caused by 4 elements, sickness. May all suffering mother sentient beings, may the bodies of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the bodies of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
It is the way that indeed Mandina, each of you got never. No to Tarani, but how about
How nice it would be if the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as mental suffering, fear, coarse and subtle discursive thoughts. May the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
Pages the one that the mandate of Naga Filos and Majing and Batara Tata and the Timor.
How nice it would be if the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings, free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue, coarse and subtle negative speech such as telling lies. May the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Or free the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
Pages the one that the mandate of both to be short people and give each other Tata the Timor.
How nice it would be if the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings, free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. May the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings from the class discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
Pages the Sinje 20 doing it on. Pages Jim McGill the Tana Jim. Oh, Chichi told the result of the Shin Lama and Shin go to see.
How nice it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. I will free all mother sentient beings from the suffering and the causes of suffering. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
Pages the one that the mandate for the music do want to do it. Nirana, what you're doing is Yanawa took some you can hold in you, but the President Yadawa took some you can see the 20 so you can hold on to change your top shower to be so motion.
Next, we generate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take on the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of sufferings of realms, lower realms? I should take on the responsibility to free all other sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms. However, I do not have the abilities to do so now. Who has the abilities? Only those who have achieved the perfect, complete enlightenment have the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the precious state of enlightenment. Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind. The aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. These transform into the aspects of white mundis, one's heart. And the ultimate bodhicitta, that is one's mind becoming in one taste with emptiness, lack of inherent existence. That transform into the aspects of white five-pronged vajra on top of the mundis. Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while. That I exist, neither inherently one with, nor inherently different from the aggregates. Thus, I am empty of inherent existence. As I always say, it is very important, and we should try our best to conjoin whatever roots of virtue that we perform through our two doors with the practice of six perfections. And the first one is generosity. Generosity is an intention of giving. So these 2 hours of listening, contemplations, and meditations on Dharma is for the purpose of purifying suffering and achieving happiness of sentient beings. Next is morality. And morality is a mind of abandonment. During these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, will fully abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest. And through these, we conjoin these 2 hours of listening to Dharma with the practice of morality. Next is patience. And patience is an undisturbed mind. During these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will patiently accepting my physical and my mental sufferings or hardships. Next is joyous effort. Joyous effort is a mind that takes delight in virtue. So I will take delight in the root of virtue of listening to Dharma, contemplating the Dharma, and meditating on Dharma. Through this, we conjoin these roots of virtue with the practice of joyous effort. Next is meditative stabilization. It is a mind that single-pointedly abides on any virtuous object. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will single-pointedly focus my mind on the intended virtuous actions and not falling under the control of discursive thoughts and distractions. Next is wisdom. Wisdom is an awareness that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. I will try my best to understand the words and meanings of the Dharma that I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on. Through this, I conjoin these roots of virtue with the practice of wisdom. Set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this purpose, I will listen to the holy teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings. right? Yeah, so as we will first start with asking questions. So the first question is, what is the nature of the perfections of morality? So without referring to your notes, so tell me without looking at your notes. So what is the nature, or what is the entity of the perfections of morality? Tell me directly, let's say.
An intention to give.
Morality.
Abundant. Abundant. Abandoning.
mind of abandoning, mind of abandonment. Bông xem để gì?
Parshi goje wore dun la manduna tini sil la manduna mi jil mi tene se chana dilo se lagi da dilo manduna ge chiba ki indas chiba chigi ta parshi goje wore se goje ya in jua tango mas paji de goje ya dil ya ji tam e jua madana na se se la pa ya la kadi na so a kawan do ba ina so ye ba ina se la pe cha te ka ke tam ko se la ba ji Yeah, chilling in the village, loving that. That the Lama school.
Yeah, so this is something that we have always been meditating on, right? So I'll say we must keep in our mind, and the purpose of not changing, the way of meditating, or way of cultivating this mind, is because so that wherever we go, then we always have this in our mind, and wherever we go, then we can always meditate on it. So do not change anything about it, and just to on this basis, then to improve a little bit, a little bit, so that wherever we go, then we are able to meditate on it. So yeah, and make sure you keep this in your mind. Otherwise, next time if you cannot answer it, then I will call your name and ask you to answer the questions first. Yeah, so especially those we always meditate on, then I will call your name and then ask others to keep silent, and then ask you to answer the questions.
Oh yeah. I'm not a dream. Kas papa the nipa kas papa se la de pegaron. Kas papa nipa ges mo ase. Nipa ges la la kisa manda ripata ba ji yo ro.
Yeah, so I will start with the outlines, identifications of objects for specific situations.
Da nipa ges mo de la kanda. Nipa kana tini shine bi na. Ache kansa se nipa nga shiba. Ma shita pa nga de ma zata nipa shi yo tabi nipa. Ke bana de nipa. Tibi nipa ni namba de nipa pi shi tarwa. Da nga shiba se shi no wa. Da chepa de kanda. Chepa de na do shi che da tambo. Ding ho re es da de ma de zen da ma ripa je no da ji shi bu de nipa me zo ne. Da de tambo de. Da tambo de kanda chepa nam do shi che wa de. Ma zo long ho ze ka si chepa na jo ni ba ga de shi wa. Chepa na jo ni ba de ma zo shi ne start de ba da. De zo le ma zo chepa na jo ni ba da. De shi bi ni ba da ma che wa. Chepa na jo ni ba de be se ko. Wa. 어디 이제 공부시 되지다 공부돼 그다 나도 시 치워야 다 이 친구 차원 공부시는 좀 좋아 와
So on which object is shamatha accomplished here? In general, the meditation objects for individual people are just as explained above. So referring to the 4 types of objects, such as the pervasive or the objects for purifying one's conduct. So, and in particular, it is important that those with predominant discursive thoughts to meditate on the breath. So previously, for example, if one wants to newly accomplish tomb abiding, then one has to mainly rely on the objects that purifies one's conduct, for example.
我对我是当做去听过了我这些他哪句我是对我的个人的我来你会有嘛所以嘛学的个了嘛对的个了是我心里呢个人的我接的个了我接着去嘛你那个确定的学到都是呢这个在说的是的那从我的不仅说的不对呢这他妈心里呢我个人的我把这打风我的我他对脑筋我就学的话我觉得我发现呢这个是很难做的话很过牛的是我吧
So as it says here, as it says here, it is important that those with predominant discursive thought to meditate on the breath. So, however, meditation on the breath is not necessary. So it depends on situations. Like, for example, when one wants to do meditations, so you sit according to the 7 meditative postures of Varichana. And then when you check if your mind is very much affected by discursive thoughts, then instead of focusing your mind on the chosen objects, then you focus your mind on your breath. So in order to suppress the discursive thoughts. And Rinpoche quoted many texts to support the points that he said. On the text, he says, alternatively, the second and third stages of meditation follow the sutra on the concentration that perceives the Buddha of the present face to face, and the King of Concentration Sutra in teaching the accomplishments of concentration, observing the Tathagata's body. Commentary on difficult points of Land for the Path also quotes statement by Master Bodhibhadra that concentration is accomplished observing the Tathagata's bodies. So Rinpoche quoted many texts that says one should accomplish, because it is extraordinary, beneficial to accomplish calm abiding by observing the Tathagata's body. So next, it talks about the reason for there is a great purpose for completing calm abiding, observing the Tathagata's body. So here it talks about the reason. 대신 시비꾸라 댐미네 애니 대한 소신 세다바 낭신으로 소사 뒷장기 아니
소사의 신 작업을 디바장이 이게 작업을 네가 작업을 해서 가나와 디바장 와서 디바조리어 미스 소 거기 있었다고 그러나 맞아요. 뭐 뜻은 소사라 베디디 무슨 상황이
시비꾸 찍보이나
그때 그거로
So in the concentration on the Buddha's body, limitless merit arises through recollecting Buddha. So when we recollect Buddha or remembering Buddha, by remembering Buddha, one will accumulate extensive merits, even though we only remember Buddha for 1 second. So don't mention when we do meditations and we remember Buddha or recollect the Buddha for many seconds or for many minutes or for many hours. So the merits that one will accumulate definitely is limitless. And if your image of that body is clear and stable, it makes a great difference to your visualizations of the field for accumulating merit through prostration, offering, prayers, and so forth, as well as the field for purifying obstructions through compassion, restraint, and so forth. So usually when we want to accumulate merits or to purify our negativities, and one usually will visualize the merit field. And by visualizing Buddha Tathagata's body itself, and then in relation to which then we practice purification, compassions and purifications, and we accumulate merits in relation to the Tathagata bodies. So this is same like that in relation to same like that done in relation to the merit field. So the merits one will accumulate, the purifications that we do in relation to Tathagata's body is same as doing the same practices in relation to the visualizations of the merit field.
That's why for chi sanji to or that chi on the sanji March, because I know is a lot because Hong Kong about that, I need to go. What leave it up? So, this is a good thing. The so which needs to go with it. I can't turn that so sad. One nigga be conduct and knowledge should be to be so that somewhere said that the ship do what the nigga be so sad. The society is this. I can't then go and share what the listen that the chiva.
So you talk about the reason and you talk about the great purposes of visualizing Tathagata's body. So besides these, then it also has a great advantage, which is revealed by the excellent benefit that your recollections of the Buddha does not deteriorate at the time of death. And by the great difference it makes to deity yoga when you cultivate the path of mantra. So at the time of death, then if one able to recollect Buddha, then it makes it brings a great benefit. And also when one enter the mantra path or this mantra, then it also makes a great difference in one's deity yoga, this of deity yoga as well. So it makes a great difference not only in the sutra system, it makes a great difference in the tantra system as well by visualizing Tathagata's body.
Stage 카도타고 불리지 누워 어디가서 다 시바들와 이제 간다 꼭 하나 간다 이바치 딱 찾으시는 거지 되게 지시고
뭐다?
다른 선지 걸 와, 선지 걸라면 다 간디지 예 신바고도 간디지 제고 보세 어디로 들어와 어디들 소거를 간다 아 이게 다 간다기 비마 샤워라 같은 게 되는데 선지 카도타고 그러니까 지금 뭐 kun지 간다 시 좀비긴 도다 그거도 시지 파도다고 시 좀비 그래서 시지 파도다 그래서 지난 와서 시 좀모스 레디 그래서 시 다가서 시 그게 시부로 말 그래서 시 좀모스데 시들라 쉐다 도다 짜라서 봐 참모가 쉐 간가다 봐 참모서 산 시 고랑 오도 말아와 싶다 나중에 와서 이 참모 맞으면 시들 앞에 아까 평소에 그 이유가 좀 요구하고 뭐 대리 상지 그거 내가 간다 생각할 때 시점에서参与된 게 있으기 그 예 지금 와 어쨌든 이제 아까 내가 말지 제일 쉬어요 뭐 대리지와 어디 간다 어디 니시와 간다 그 소통 그러면 본다는 거죠 그러면 본다는 가리지 시작했으면 맞아 뇌가 그치 스타바찌니 그 바찌니 그러면서 그 시작하는 줄어找不着急呢，他找不着我去哪路呀？你也干了，啊，东方人呢，大数个呗，弄着现在大数个讲弄着是呗，弄一建立啊，那个设施大的，不是弄的呢，你去救我哇， 对建立没有是的，我的理解去吧，对啥子建立，其他你这个嘛是搞过了呀，你给留下来，不建立，想想对的，我在上一起，兄弟，我在电你弄了，我是电力不给就想想对的，上过了，在从把的是别个结果了，是能把你新鲜了，或者找不到了呀，都空间，这是哎，电力真的不现了，电话手机来不了，电力不得是通死了，我他妈是过。那等这一通的，那让一国际上那啥的基本你弄了，但是给钱啊，如果是那让一去吧，然后呢，在当个这个了，兄弟就不等这了，让要把这了上了大班呢，哎了，电话学全部结果嘞，电话学全部那些，不了看到，是第七位呢，他们这电报的对的，他看到伊了整年的，第七位有也是个话，天天呢，什么的给钱的也是个话。
So next it talks about how to meditate on the Tathagata's body or Buddha's body. So as the King of Concentration Sutra says, with this body like the color of gold, the Lord of the world is exceedingly beautiful. The Bodhisattva whose mind is engaged in this object is said to be before his meditation. So here it talks about, and you should make something like that your object of attention. So you should realize that the Tathagata's body in the color of gold. In the color of gold. And when he says the color of gold, it doesn't refer to the ordinary gold. So it refers specifically to the color of refined gold, where the impurities are totally purified or removed, and the refined gold itself. So his body should be visualized like the color of refined gold. And how's it with the radiant bright lights? So yeah. So then it says, moreover, between the two types of visualization, one that sees the body as freshly contrived by the mind, and one that sees the object as naturally present, the latter has the great distinctions of generating faith. So when these two types of visualization, one is freshly generated by your mind, and the other one is sees the objects as naturally present. So then Geshe-la gives the example is like this. So if you want to practice a refuge, for example, then you enter into a cave. Then that cave, that cave is empty. So then if you want to practice refuge, then you have to visualize the object newly, right? So because there is nothing there for you to focus your mind in relation to the object. So then you have to freshly or newly generate the object of refuge. So in compared to one that sees the object as naturally present, then the second one is like this. You enter into a cave where there is a Buddha statue, where there is a Buddha's image or where there is a Buddha statue. Then in relation to which, then you don't have to newly generate the object of refuge anymore. So you just focus on that object, and then you practice refuge in relation to that. So the second one that sees the object as naturally present, means that the object such as Buddha's image is already there. Then you practice in relation to which. Then the second one, which is one that sees the object as naturally present, then has a great distinction of generating faith. So one will generate a greater faith in relation to the second types of visualization. So through which then you take that as an object of observations and focus your mind steadily on that object.
我等这个计划，经过有点生活，那点我是习惯的话，那我把的我是这个话，当然我把的你得出来的了，我是你得出来的话，得出来的，当你的习惯了这个，你得出来的，但只不得路嘛是，因为过来把它去做，没事的，记得开始继续做的话，那只不得路嘛，因为过老师把你来把你要不，就被人家做不起。要不是呢，就当然说，我就把这些个送上等的，上级就不是个被，就这样来的，土地大要么长嘛看的，希望有嘛的是。但我这个你是得搞的是，但是这个把你做工的东西，让你被他入去， was be Shavana, Hazu, Punda Kanda, Punda Shana, Hazuki, and Hazu Killing, the Punda Jeto to the B. Rape, Sanjiko, Hazu Sheva Yom to me, Jeto Yum to be Sheva Yudu.
Jeto là cái gì?
So by Jewdi,
Jeto.
Kashi Shava in a Jojo over the Tismati, Ramada Kilishan. Oh, leadership. That deal over it. We did that, you could have called us about Cardigina. Let's say Yabush, Jeto, but the December years ago. That the digital did tell about sort of Isha, Yabota, Yapotania, Yaso, say that sing here, Yajibachi. Yeah, me Pachipachini Yabu, Shereda, that chances to some Yabotani. Yabotani, Yaso, there's no debating singular charge. The Digipin, Ishamabu, Chinetis, local, is that. Let's say, what is what? That the Nichi, that the Nichi was a he also took a lemmy Dutch balance about the dig, and you are near, so said Ila, said Chachi. That the Tashi condition in the dinning so the Ila never chatted by the song. Listen, wow, boy, I wish that was myself. I want you to catch a much up. She need to Walla. I want you to pick catch a much up. I said, Jane, did you tell want you to pick catch a much up? I think she got a go with it, then you want you to like you. Thomas was a big ginger cut. What she did would come here. What did this all? I think I know what the Puma Sama should have a bit. Show the Kunda Karina to see. I would show it. This was a sailor or Sanji Book and now by his Sanji Moore and now by his son. That this year, Yaka, what you would do. The young Sanji movie, the years of that someone there by in a Yapik, let's all up Chimosavia. Gets a love Chimosaya.
So next it talks about how you investigate the objects of observations or how you search for the objects of observation. Object of observations, in other words, is objects of observation, or on which your mind focus. So as you investigate the objects of attention, the basis for the mind to focus on, first, find a good pointed image, statue, or the like of the teacher's body. Look at it repeatedly, consider the features, and familiarize yourself with its appearance as an object of the mind. And so when we search for the objects of observations like Tathagata's body or Buddha's body, then we shouldn't differentiate whether this Buddha is good or bad, as mentioned by Lama Atishas. As mentioned by Lama Atishas already, there is no good or bad there is no good or bad Buddhas. There is only there is a difference in the quality of the the statue makers or the Tsongkhapa painters. So there is only the difference in this. There is no such thing as good or bad Buddhas, and there is only difference in terms of the quality of the image, the Tsongkhapa painters, for example, or the statue makers. So we should search for a good, the painted image or statue. Then, where the features are properly done or properly painted, and where there's some because of the quality of the Tsongkhapa painters or the statue makers, then sometimes they make the statues in a the features is crooked, and for example is not in a proper position, and etc. So then we should look for a good one, a good painted image or statue. Then so when you choose a good painted image or statue already, then you should observe it well with your eye contact. You should observe it well. Then look at the shape, the features, colors, and etc. Then cause it to appear in your mind. Then again, then you look at the image. Then the fine features, for example. Then again, cause it to appear in your mind, and you should do so repeatedly. So when it appears in your mind, then you should the aspects of the Tathagata's body should be like the actual one instead of the image or the statue. And it makes a great difference in terms of the accumulations of merit if you utilize it as the actual Tathagata's body. And yeah, so if you have listened to the explanations by a guru, then you also should mix the descriptions to appear in your mind as well. So at first, you should observe it well with your eye consciousness. So this eye consciousness at the beginning part is a very important conditions for for the image to appear in your mind. Then later, when you do meditation, when you're in the meditations, then you should use your mental consciousness instead of the sense consciousness. Yeah, so however, rather than making the object of attention appear like a painted image or something like that, then train for it to appear in the aspect of the actual Buddha. So actually, I wanted to say something, say this in the past, but I couldn't remember it when we start our class. So so that in order to benefit all of us from now on, so and in relation to this, to visualize the Tathagata's bodies, so this reminds me telling you this. So also when we have pujas, and like, for example, Lama Chupa or Medicine Buddha Puja, for example, then sometimes we put things on the puja text. For example, sometimes we have, all right, so we have the offerings and like fruits, for example, then we put fruits on the puja text. Then sometimes we put handphone on our puja text. So I've seen this in the past, I didn't mention it. And yesterday, again, I saw it. So, and the person who did it is more like the person who did it are more senior ones. So in fact, those senior ones should be giving advices to the newcomers, for example, how to properly treat the objects, right? So however, instead of giving advice, then they themselves are doing it, some of them. So in fact, by doing so, it actually contradicts the precepts that we have accepted when we take refuge. So we should be mindful of it.
전부 맞이가 제대로 시스로 나 소등 가서 다 도저가 지샤자고 샤디 가서 다 대강나 마셔 봐지 소도 봐 수지를 봐 샤는 뒤로 와 이나 가서 대상다 보이나 소대신의 조제가 다 가서 샤사 매나 샤고 말은 가서 소로 되는 조제 올라 샤고 혹시 올라마 샤자 봐서 가서 조제 대용도야 샤고 말에
신도는
신도 소대신은 가서 그래서 가르치스나 가서 나지 페이셔널의 조제가 샤고 말에 다 가서 미식 어째 매지 캠보다 람마드 설의 미식이 샤사 매디 그래서 무슨 기가라 마자 지키그리 샤그리 뭐도 미식이 근데 맞아 뭐하기 그래서 조제가 페이셔널 저리 샤고 말에 무슨 소대와 있나 잘라 있는 소 가리나 그래서 원래 샤마도 가나 샤고 말에 다 가서 그 루시의 자산도 인지미지 조제가 대량도 샤고 해서 자리 조제가 샤고 또 이게 진짜 지금은 그래서 되게 성공하게 이제 싫어. 되게 지금은 오늘 마셔야나 야 이제 저거도 그래서 계속 맞아. 나 다시 조직에 샤고야 도 소도 맞겠어요.
Yeah, so because even the puja text is how's it, the Dharma jewels, right? So we should properly treat them. So after we have taken refuge in the three jewels already, and then we have taken Buddha Dharma and Sangha as the the authentic object of refuge. So we should treat them respectfully. So including the puja text as well, and I have to. I should say because it's also is my responsibility to remind some of you to remember this point how to properly treat our object of refuge, and yeah, so this is something that we should keep in our mind and don't forget it. So even in monasteries, when we distribute talk, then we usually put it on the floor instead of putting it on the table. So somehow here it seems like when we put talk, then we usually put it on the table instead of putting it on the floor. So probably out of the concern for some health concern, like putting on the floor, then maybe it's dirty or dusty. So however, in general, when we put talk on the table, even if we put talk on the table, then we should put it on the side instead of on the puja text, for example.
밀리실로 시작해서 날 소자와서 조제간에 그냥 시작하려고 했으니까 이 뭐야간에 누워라 아니 소자와서 조제간에 맞아 나도 저 봐. 뭐는 가서 계속 이렇게 어디요 빨리 누워
Yeah, yeah, so like for I also understand the difficulty sometimes if they see giving me the talk, then they put on the table, right? So then they also do the same. So
어디 가자고 저한테 가서 저한테 자야 맞는 너무 무서워해.
yeah. Yeah, so it's like when they give me talk, then they put on the table, and then when they give you talk, then they put on the floor. Then you also, not so nice, right? When others see it, yeah. 写上就
그래서 다 제가 보다 초가 나도 대가나 뭐에 더보다 초다 쉬고 초초이 샤워 하나니 야 뭐 맞아 쉬어야 있어 그 시간에 가도 쉬어야 있어 얘는 그 이런 거 같이 보다도 와서 또 와서 얘는 시간에 가도 쉬어야 있어 그래서 가서 좀 전화야 뭐도 무슨 좀 상샤고 뭐 tema 내가 tema 지니 말에 tema
So so again, this is how we should properly or respectfully treat those holy objects. For example, the puja text. So also in a difficult situation, sometimes to say or not to say. So however, from now on, if I see, because I've seen many times already, Vishala said, so I've seen it many times already. So it's not just once or twice. So I've seen it many times already. So I apologize to you first. So from now on, if I've seen any one of you doing this, I will tell you directly. For example, if you put phone or fruits, for example, on the puja text, I will tell you immediately.
我也打电话唱的蛮热议的，唱的，但唱的我这的主播的话，我主播的我这打也主播
唱些
那个
主播的
第三第三他主播的，主播的看到，那第搞的时候是呢，我这打我些个呢，你不图嘛，讲的的些我打哪里我的送对吧？那可是嘛，我就这样子可以关系，那么爸爸有的话，那这爸爸的把谁，那看的。And the one he did to Maria and the song, what the machine you are.
To continue our lessons, so here it talks about dividing cannot be accomplished by sense consciousnesses. So some of you previously had doubt about whether sense dividing can be accomplished by sense consciousnesses or not. So here it eliminates the doubt by explaining that it cannot be accomplished by sense consciousnesses.
I know that kind of person did the job and make it in it. I know the she did cover the bed. When you say that they were shooting the rest of the general was that the one of the Roa, Hindu release the Roa, cover the patient yes. That thing is one killer where my Ishila to the thing is the kind of which me but the Ishi to in particular say, it's shape of the Sungre model. Dane was good your mares. Wow. Easy, do a cousin. Taking also was vigilant. One thing you are so little still on either Soyaki Yomara. One she put it to in a cutting period, but didn't get by the area cutting one to their model. Also, some by a Yoma. Some on the came. Oh, that the so you know, at the beginning, since in it, so security, that the issue model that was actually your mark. Or you just make a digital number to be seen at the shower chamber. What the someone down with it, so the to the dictionary to grow up. What the ritual issue model that was it funny your mark. So that was it, the other member touching. There was.
So here it says that it makes perfect sense that Master Yeshide refutes the practice of some people who set up an image in front of them, look at it with their eyes, and meditate by staring at it. So so Master Yeshide refutes such practices, which is staring meditations. So if you stare at the objects and meditate, wishing to accomplish form abiding, then this is not possible. This is already refuted by Master Yeshide. So this is because concentration is not accomplished with a sensory consciousness, but rather with the mental consciousness. So, and the actual object of concentration is a direct object of the mental consciousness. So you must focus on that. And when we want to accomplish a calm abiding, then our mind focus on the the mental image of the object, instead of using your eye consciousness to focus on the object. Then you achieve calm abiding. This is not possible. And calm abiding is accomplished by mental consciousness and by holding your mind onto the object, onto the mental image. So when we talk about staring meditations, when we say sense consciousness, so sense consciousness, directly experience the object, like for example, the object of touch. So you directly experience it without any conceptions. So however, here we talks about achieving calm abiding, then it is accomplished by the mental consciousness, by holding the mind to the mental image. So after you focus on the object, then it causes it to appear to your mind. Then this mental image, then your mind focus on it. So by doing so, you accomplish calm abiding. So you cannot be one cannot accomplish calm abiding by using the sense consciousness.
Oh, this nothing also that one shilla that kind of she needs to make that touch is what it kind of show that show and now we're the given which you put that same thing what that is a half of it.
Yeah, so whether calm abiding can be accomplished by sense consciousness or not, then it is conclusively refuted here by Jeremiah, by quoting Master Yeshide, that it cannot accomplished by sense consciousnesses.
아시기 신에 두는 원에 뭐야 나 뭐니 스파 아니 좋아 맞아 컴바 소소 컴바 있는다 라고 있는다 지나 다시네 뭐 그래서 제가 다 미빠들 상황 땅어디 아 니우이나 동으로 와 산지 거기다 니우이나 동으로 와 나사로잖아 얘 동구 말로 와 한거 어떻게 매니 다시네 조사 샤제 그죠
Lô mày nè. Lô vô rồi, chào bù lại.
뭐 왜?
Ờ.
또 왜나 돼? 또 내가 같이 보러 와. 또 세잖아 다시네 뭐야 메도아디. 나프라 시네 도야메. 예, 니마 기본마도 니우마도 세모 위빌라 다시네 도야메 차다. 뭐 로메 보다. 이게 뭐에서 맞아. 참하고 해야 된다 이래야지.
So this is also something that we, how say, is logical to all of us as well. That we, how say, think about it, then we can, it's something that we can understand. So, like for example, if someone enter into a cave to do meditations in order to achieve calm abiding, then during the daytime you can see if this can be accomplished by sense consciousnesses by staring at the object, then during the daytime. Then you can see, because there is daylight, right? Then you can see the object, for example, Buddha's body, Buddha's body or Buddha's image. Then you can practice calm abiding. However, then during the nighttime where there is no light, then there is no chance for you. Then you cannot practice calm abiding in relation to the object because you cannot see the object anymore, right? Where there is no light, then you cannot see the object. Then you cannot practice calm abiding. So it's something very logical that. To show you that it cannot be accomplished by sense consciousness or by staring at it.
야, 제가 미 샤오 거 미나시야야. 제가 뭐 지금 보습니다. 야, 미나시.
Yeah, unless you have the eyes of an owl, then you can see at night. Other than that, then you cannot see it at night, right?
뭐 되지로. 아까 나가 저 원치 그런 같이. 아까 저 dim바데 꾸이 차 타라 저 시킨도와. dim바들로 와. dim바드 가르스나 다 dim바드 가서 다 미빠 찌네 봐 송거는 미빠 제모제나 지네 두고 말해서 된다 데리다. 이시오 된다. 들어왔다 된다다 하고 같이 네도 다 들어와. 다 미빠 가르 산지 짓고 뭐디 산지 짓고 대라마도 다 신이 두고 갈라 산지 짓고 많이 봐 신다 지 미빠 제모 제와 이나 다 신이 두고 말해. 된다 디시고 다되나. 와.
So this talks about whether it can be accomplished by the sense consciousness or not, then it cannot be. So this talks about the point. And the following point, it talks about one should accomplish calm abiding by focusing on one object instead of changing the objects of observations.
다 간다 데려와. 다 간다 미빠 찔렀어요. 간다. 다 산지 짓고 나 미우디 간다와. 알아니. 그래서 나 상지 짓고 배지 이하나 배서 이 통에 배통 대보 그래서 미시기 통화 쓰더라 봐라 뭐 배 미시 가도 통에 쓰더라 봐 앞에 나 상지 수도라서 봐도 배다 이제 벌써 배 하자 와 주도 가서 그래서 미시 가도 많통 많도야 나 미시기 통 많도야 뭐 그래서 그거 가도 아빠 차고 와 맞차고 와 어따라 아빠 쓰는 가서 사람이는 담은 가서 아빠가 그래서 이 라파 성도서도 일을 차 되고 와. 이 뭐에서 와. 그 차라니는 라파 성도하니. 그 라파들 미네. 그래서 그 생각을 땡바치네. 될 미네. 그러니까 무슨 될 라파들라서. 와. 무슨 라파라서. 라파들 미. 그 라파들 간다. 이게 뒤진 차 그래서 와. 라파를 위해서 전부 대가 지신 와. 그래서 뭐도
So it says that although the image has both rough features and finer details, you should first focus on the rough features, and afterward, when your meditation on that has stabilized, and observe the details. So when we talk about observing Tathagata's body, then there are different aspects of Tathagata's body, right? There are fine, rough aspects, and there are fine aspects of the Tathagata's aspect. Right? Yeah, Tathagata's body. So those can be seen easily by one's eye consciousness. Then those are rough or gross aspects. So those gross aspects are easier to appear in one's mind. So when they appear in one's mind, then your mind focus on that mental image. And then when you focus on it, and then once your meditation on it has become stabilized, then you focus on the finer or the detailed one. So which cannot be easily seen by the eye consciousness.
오 되게 시고래 가다 가서 미가서 가서 가다 신이 나 신이 마두 봐 된다도 뒤로 된다도 가서 미가 지야가 되게 시고로 이게 두비가라 가다 산치 콜라미다 가서 두비 내가 신이 두 신비가라 다 미바데 제모제나 신다지 나 산치 콜라 미디 야 신다 나서 야 제모지 미바 신다지라 받세바이나 이 신이 두야리 이게 같이 자고 그래서 와 신이 두야리 그래서 신이 두야리 이게 같이 자고 그래서 이 신이 두고 말했어 다 간다 미바 짐 맞다 지에 맞아 다 지를 붙이 마 미바오 소마 소도와 다 저기 나도 미바오디 소도와 다 미바 지바이나 간다 신이 두 마도에 미바 찌라네 바 땡가 미바오 미바 찌라 그래서 소야 좋아 뭐 지기를 미바오 소리 여기 나도 좀 많이 소야 좋아 비례 되가 가로 찌라서 비니에서 비례서 소도와 가로 찌다라 시페로 디코로 시프로 와 시프로 그래서 비례를 찌라와 뭐 this 소자 다 간다 미바 제모지나 신이 두두 말에서 다들 된다 맞아 수 내가 전에도 하고 공부와
So this point it mainly talks about when one wants to practice or want to accomplish karma abiding, then one shouldn't change your object of observations. Once you have chosen one, then you shouldn't change it to other objects. Otherwise, for example, if you first chosen Buddha's body as the object of observations, then then you change it to something else. Then you will become the obstacles to your accomplishment of karma abiding, and one will not be able to accomplish karma abiding by doing so. So this is Lujie Rinpoche quoted Ayah Suras and also Lam for the Path to Enlightenment to support this point that it talks about by settling on one object or the specifications on only one.
어디 그래서 간다 산지 꾸지라미 그래서 개원에 뭐 개원에 간다 신이 뭐 똑바로 그런데 산지 꾸지가 말어 다 신다 미바 세야 merda 다 신다 미바 그래서 신다 가서 장비 있어 뭐마다 미미 뭐바이나 안 지라 미바 소바이나 이다 장주 세 고바 야보로 와 이다 미다 바 고바 야보로 와 아니 고바 야보로 와 그래서 산지 고 맞아 봐 미바의 제모지네 고만이 고마다 미다 바 고마다 장주 세 고마다 근데 좀 봐이나 신이 두야라 같이 잡으렀다 지금 그저 그런 거 빼, 무슨 소파나 야구를 되는데 힘이 누가 많이 잡으랬어. 이게 누구야?
So, for example, if one have chosen the Tathagata's body as objects of observations, so you should stay focusing on this object. You should stay on this object until you achieve karma abiding. So, before one accomplishes karma abiding, if you were to change your objects of observation from Tathagata's body to meditating on bodhicitta or meditating on impermanence, meditating on emptiness, then it will become some obstacles to your karma abiding, and you will not be able to accomplish karma abiding by doing so because you change the object of observations before you accomplish karma abiding. In general, when we say meditate on meditations on karma abiding, meditations on bodhicitta, impermanence, and emptiness, in general, they are very good. However, in order to achieve karma abiding, if you have already chosen Tathagata's body, later on you change your objects of observations to any objects other than that, it will become an obstacle to your accomplishment of karma abiding.
어디 야데 먼저 과야 맞다야 야 그래서 동반이 뭐야 야보다 야데 맞지 신이 시간이 뭐 just 네 제대로 같이 가버려서 아주 예저 사야라 같이 들리 맞다 뭐 계절라 전부다 들리서 그러와 어디서 와서 뒤지도 보고 진짜 동반에서 보고 그러와 신이 민바 외수네 보아요 말에서 보다 이거 지네 좋아.
So don't misunderstand what I have just explained. Thinking that meditations on bodhicitta or impermanence or on emptiness is an obstacle. So it is not an obstacle in general. In fact, they are very good, and they are by meditating on it, one will accumulate roots of virtue. So, however, if your purpose is to achieve calm abiding, and you change your original objects of observation to any object other than that, even that includes meditations on impermanence or emptiness, for example, then it will become an obstacle to your accomplishment of calm abiding.
그래서 제바딘다. 다다 간다 진행이 돼 갖고지 미바 메시아 들었다. 리바도 리바사서. 딘도다 제바디고다 제인데 버리로와. 다 제바디 먼저 된다 가르스나. 다 미티를 소소게 네 차바치. 미티를 니네. 다 미티를 네 차다 다들 세 간디스 그래. 다들 미티들 소소게 상호 가르토 미바데 송고도 세리. 아니 지금 무슨 와. 그때 말 기자 시고. 미티를 네 차이라 때 상호 가르토 공도 보고로 미바 때문에 거들라. 다 당보 올라 미고도가 안세라 미고도다. 그 라팔라 세수고도 참말라 세수고도 다 되게 시고마. 와 미디를 네차 담아서 미디를 상시 꾸이 바 네차 마시로와 미디 오 당사 나도 당사로와 선지 당사디 딜라 수수 세 관리 수고도스 아니 관리 미니 세 관리 세 군데 가시로와.
Then the next point talks about after one have chosen an object of observation, for example, Tathagata's body, how your mind focus on it. So should you first focus on the head of the Tathagata's body, or should you first focus on the hand implements, or should you first focus on the gross aspect, or should you first focus on the detailed aspect? So here this paragraph talks about it.
당어서 미티니 당사들와 당사는 가서 산지 고대 미티 당사바지 아들 가서 산지 고대 당사오디 가 보만 가서 상 당사의 세 관리지 순서는 가 산지 뭐 차니 회고 다 지난 회고의 지난 식으로와 회고 현다 현니 저리 먹이도 다 라파와 다 라파 다 저야 빨리 수수수이야 차지 너무 비하고다 비하고다 야 미마다 같이 야지이라 차지 좋아 근데 세수하지 오 근데 제고래다 당도 어디서라 봐 보다 차니 예 회고 지난 가서 수수로 와 뭐 근데 세수해서 세수사
림바신도
我在做림바신 순간 림바신 순간 만나도 그 라파 순간 그 간다 서로 거리당도는 리더 되고요. 그래서 뭐도서 아무리 마지 서로다 라바서 셰르스도 베스고 이끌어 봐. 그래서 서로 다 기본다 가서 림바기 되잖아. 내가 림바 뭐야 기억 만데. 그래서 산지 뭐다. 내가 산지 뭐다 차라니다. 내가 무슨다. 셰니 무슨 마치 정당지 사실 그 장소를 따서라서 그때 가서라다 뒤 계절에 서로 계절에 와.
So that being so, the measure of first rendering the objects of observation that the mind focuses on is as follows. When you visualize the head, two arms, torso, and two legs successively a couple of times, and then attend to the whole body at the end of that. So after you have chosen an object of observations, then observe it well with your eyes, then close your eyes, cause it to appear in your mind. Then repeat this many times till you have the image appears in your mind. So first, you focus on you hold your mind on the head, two arms, torso, and two legs successively. So in general, it's when we visualize it or cause it to appear in our mind. Usually we start from the head, right? So then you start with the head. That is not the order is not determinate. However, in general is when we visualize an image, then we always start from the head, two arms, torso, two legs. Then if we visualize in this way, then we covers the whole body, the whole image, right?
어디 간다 오다 무슨 상황도 상하래 오다 차니다 무슨 샤니 무슨 발레 카시 지다도 군다로 양세도 이제 성공하고 세상에 내 성질이 좋다. 저당 와서 진짜네. 성질이 고도 강강하게 미차로 봐. 어디 성공당도 비지시고. 거의 제대 차대 저 일을 차야 제대 간다. 성질이 고도 제대 일을 차야 제대 당고我다 예 차리다 구수당 예 샤니 무슨 참말라 또 양시 되라 디센스 에센스 그 참말라 디센스 어제 디스와다 일을 셔봐 중도나 상지지 그记得 상지지 제발 봐지 무슨记了 무슨 에센스 좀 제고 예스와 그거다 무슨 연합소다 봐 뭐다 셰스도 봐 이세트 리바 상마다 봐지 지단 전에 상지지 구수들 세 일파 생지 소도 봐이나 어디야 보여 예시 베들파 센스 순에 세데 간다 사부시다 데라 상마다 꾸치들 이모라서 타오디 자시가 우시스라 마스레 주나 다 빠진 디리스 녜바다 베 가르세 사부 마시와이나 베다 찌바 위시데 찌바 사부 마시와이나 세나스 따따지 메토르나 데 고치죠 그래서
세부 마차와이나
와 세부시다 참마도 봐 베다 찌바 그래서 찌바레 그래서 파장을 담보로 와 오케이 그때 미세보 왜 마도바이나 안다 그거 실라 내 두고도나 세 마차와이나 안다 안다 그때 지 호다 지 호대 소소 일을 차두고도나 내가 조시지네 양세 서로 봐 그래서 내가 조시지는 내가서 조시지는 양었습니다 랑사페 세보 차 랑사페 디세 내가 치세 지하면서 내가 쳐다와서 지하면서 이 칼라나 보시는 비슷한 양사페 지사마도 마종들의 한자페 심지가 되는 거야 뭐 되게 많이 봐요 못하나 그 가능 아주 밑바 내사로 세나 내사로 쓰고 가지고 그래서 먼저 뭐지 봐이나 다 빠져서 그 시켜 버렸어
세부 마주나야
세부
중년대 세부 매나야
그래서 맞아 봐이나 세부 시라 맞아 봐이나
그러시죠
내사로 세나 내사리 그때 내사리 조시지네 비슷하고
센지야
어디 세 송글에서 양세가 있으나 야 스텝스를 내가 그래서 보러 간다
Yeah. And then attend to the whole body at the end of that. If merely half the limbs and features appear to the mind, be satisfied with that and focus on it, even if there is no brilliant clarity. Then, yeah, so here it talks about, yeah, so we observe it well, then we cause it to appear in our mind, then repeat this several times. Then when the mental image of the whole Tathagata's body appears in your mind, then your mind focus on it. In general, yeah, because I did agree. Yeah. So when the whole body of the whole Tathagata's body, mental image of it appears in your mind, then your mind focus on it. Even though at this point, then you don't have to specifically focus on the limbs of the body. So, for example, to purposely focus on the legs of the Tathagata's body. So you don't do that. You just focus on the whole image, overall image, and whole image of it. And if when you first doing this, visualizing it, or the mental image is not clear, then you should be satisfied with. You should be content with it, and then focus your mind on that. And then doing this over and over doing this over and over again, then the image will become clearer and clearer. So if not, when you first doing meditations, visualizing the mental image, visualizing the Tathagata's body, then first the image is not clear, then you're not satisfied with it, then you put more effort in making it clearer, then then you will not be able to this is not the right way to do so. So you first, when you do the visualizations, if the visualization is not clear, there is an overall image, but even if the image is not clear, then you should be content with it and focus on it, focus your mind on it. And then by doing it over and over again, then the image will become clearer and clearer. So you shouldn't be too greedy in the sense that at first, then I should make my mental image very clear, then only I'm satisfied, only I focus my mind on it. So this the beginning of it, and we shouldn't so greedy.
我得了球是结果的，他讲到对你这个，伊拉的挑的对，伊拉挑的故意对伊拉喇叭才嘛是抢过哇，对这喇叭给抢过哇，伊拉
Kui chi de yo che ini de sebo mena yang de sing yang choshi che
还
ora.
有球是结果的对，应该现在了，反正下台哇，
Mm.
伊拉下的伊拉是不嘛下嘛伊拉，伊拉下台的，伊拉被现在的，你是得了今年现在是下台的，得了球是结果的也是吧。다 들리 조심하죠. 당의 세부지 레고 모두 살리 양세 때 세부 유한체도 양세한테 성업다 양세한테 세도이나 둘을 미바티 세부 레그레스 이 세부 레그레스 이나 띵이지 띵부 잡은 말에 계속 하는 거예요. 디스와 띵이 띵부 잡은 말 계속 하는 거예요. 야, 뭐 조심 맞아 봐. 디스당 영화 치고 나이 잡는다. 와, 랑상 이 세부 치라시. 당아도 신의 보나 뜻을 랑스포로 세부 차 이거 말와. 디 세드마 맞아 대단하다 세드마 딱히 소야 예 생각하다 하나 만들어야지 좋아 세드 조시 제보 만들어야지 영화 쳐다 만들어야지 와 디래 이 세부 요거 모두 사는 양자배 세세다 양자 세다 와이나 세부도 그 양자 세다도 세부 뜻은 누구 있나 띵이지 예 근데 니발라 띵문 니발라 이 같이 되는 게 있어 봐 나도 좀 말해 이시냐 이거 말했어
So when you visualize the overall image, for example, the Tathagata's body, so the overall image has already appeared in your mind, right? So even though it is not clear, however, the overall image has already appeared in your mind. So be content with it and then focus your mind on it. So if not, then if you want to make the image clearer, then you visualize it again and again, even though you will get a short, even though in short term you will get a clear image of it, you will become clear, your visualization will become clearer. However, you will not have a stable concentration. You will not be able to develop a stable concentration.
我第四个的，他讲到你把钱没啥呀，钱现在给你了，对吧？你把还讲的三百没吧？你把钱没啥呀，三百没吧？呢？钱现在对吧？你钱现在你的心说呢？定义这里呢？定义这里少不来，少不用完了呗？你把我听吧，你把我听，你把用完的，少定义这个少叫点了你个钱吧有也是对吧？你说的你把钱没啥呀，钱现在。 对吧？这现在定义了谁什么呢？
像切割的，
我切割对，
它是贵记的嘛，切吧，切割，
它切割会切割，你给切了嘛的，那这个师傅抢的嘛这个，师傅那个切割的嘛，是吧？我等你的切吧呢，谁是在那留的是？
谁来切割？
我谁来切割的？哎，师傅谁讲嘛一把，对吧？师傅谁讲切嘛对吧呢？你切割的我就谁了呗？看对吧呢？那个谁，然后说的话呢，按照。 师傅用完的呀，人家眼睛有的师傅用完的，烧完了，我对嘛是弄的，我对嘛是啥钱，你那个有的也是生活方便嘛，那，这人在外面我谁大你都有的话，我对你生活方便。
So here it says that if merely half the limbs and features appear to the mind, be satisfied with that and focus on it, even if there is no brilliant clarity. So what it means is, even though the mental image is not clear enough. The overall image is there, however, is not clear enough. Like for example, in terms of clarity, only half the clarity, half clear is half the clarity of the mental image appear to your mind. Be satisfied with it, and then focus your mind on it, rather than seek more clarity and repeatedly visualize it. So as it says here, the object will become clearer, but not only will you fail to acquire stable concentration, this will become an obstacle to its acquisitions, completion of abiding.
我的都是生活当的，有的就是说的，我必须得当不了，就我的这个全部是他的也是多，全部也是就是不送多，我的那个生活当是吧
？So also, even though the object is not precise, you will acquire concentration more quickly if you focus on just that mere show object. Even though it's not clear at the beginning, you focus your mind on it. But later you will acquire your concentrations quickly because it will become clearer and clearer. So then, owing to its benefit for clarity, the clarity aspect will also be accomplished easily. This appears in Master Yoshida's advice and is essential.
다 대셔지 꾸이지라 송우다 다 대지라와 다 로비 시대 당발에 중앙에 개정머리 에스티를 기송도와 다 대소다니 아까다 차시자 그 소소 일을 손시 장치와 어쨌든 되게 레오니 내가 가서 꾸이지라 찔라 세소대로 가나와 꾸이지라 세소대로 꾸이지라 세소대로 아꾸되기 자신과 힘을 배 너무나 그래서 좀 내가 자신과 일이라 자신과 시선을 가서 시에다 달아다 공바다 샤로구라다 해서 지금 그러니까 달았어요. 하슬라 자기 무슨 예스 누구나 그래서 공부를 해서와 세수도 들어 세수 야 됐어 서 누나 이제 대가로 해서 좀 그랬어요. 와 예랑 소리야 자기도 소리 바지 성당에 서 일에 두고드나 자기도 소리도 성당 자 자기도 파상을 리투브는 내가 대화하자. 그래서 그래서
정보에는 꿀지대 상당하라.
굳이 성당으로
상대가 나의 미세지에
미세지
이창
자기도야 성 리그나 그래야 지 성당 아주 양자 리그보다는 앉았어. 아츠로
그렇지.
앉았어. 대화 성당 그래서
So as it says here, this is Master Yeshida's advice, and it's very important. So you should focus on the whole body to the best of your abilities. So you focus on the whole body of the Tathagata's body to the best of your abilities. And while focusing your mind on the whole body of the Buddha's image, and if some parts of the body appear clearly, focus on those. For example, when you focus on the whole body, then some parts of the body, like the hands of Buddhas or the legs of Buddha appear clearly, then your mind focus on that. Then if that limb then become unclear again, then as Geshe-la said, then come back to the whole body. So focus on the whole body once more. So come back to the whole body again.
어디서도 다른 저 간다 다 꾸줄라 그 상관에 아마도 땡비고도 잡고 세보러 와 나니 가서 와 땡비고도 배고 세점아 다시 보여주러 와 세보래 다 들리 세보 다소서 상관에 간다 땡비고도 세보 들리지라 상관에 다 들리 상관 상관이라 근데 마보지라 상관에 가비 유나세 야세 뭐도 있더니 내우러 와 마보지라 무슨 때야 세부 많이 마보지 그런데 나도 좋아해 봐. 그래도 마보고 좋아해 봐. 좋아해 봐. 디지 상호 내가 이나 디지를 놓아요 말했어. 상호도 지라. 세부 공 시비가래가 마보 세라 샤라지. 마보 고야게 되어야 봐지. 좋아. 다마 상지 고마 슈테 봐지. 무슨 상호 방탄 공제 되어라. 공제 비가라. 야란 지라 공제나 파지 야사래서. 여기 상호들이나 상호도 소리라 놓아요 말했어. 디지 지라 놓는데 Pachiri Hindu or Pachiri Sivarda. Ope, so Sebo go to the Sanji, Mamujila Goja Budusan. Ya, shoot the Sanji Kusu to shoot about this was somebody. Yalante, what you just what? Some of my that some post on you. Was a Gila Brian once. Gila Dovaina. You got the Yah, she named Oma Pachicha.
At the time, a color, shape, number, or size might appear that was not ascertained earlier. Like for example, if you want to meditate on something yellow, then something red appears. And if you want to meditate on a sitting figure and a standing one appears, then like for example, we choose Buddha Shakyamuni as the objects of observations, then Buddha Shakyamuni is in golden color, right? So then, and while focusing your mind on the Buddha's image in golden color, then if a thought arises in your mind, thinking that what if Buddha is in red color? So you have a thought arise in your mind, wishing to change the color of the original object to red color, for example. Then you shouldn't follow these thoughts. Similarly, if Buddha's image is in a sitting position, right? So if there is a thought arise in you, so wanting to visualize Buddha's image in standing position, like for example the Maitreya in standing positions, then if this thought arise in your mind, wanting to change the original sitting position sitting position to standing positions, then you shouldn't follow these thoughts. Otherwise, it will become an obstacle to your concentration.
You need to become a page over you need to go to the notice more sound of the page over. Yes, you need to go a pay woman. What is on I am
because now we are in the context of having found or having chosen the objects of observations, and you shouldn't do this. So otherwise, in general, here it says that you want to meditate on one. You want to meditate on one and two appear. So this is in the context of having found the objects of observations already. So you have chosen Tathagata's Buddha Shakyamuni as the object of observation. So there is only one, right? So instead of thinking, also when you are focusing your mind on Buddha Shakyamuni, then if a thought arises in you and thinking that it would be more beneficial by visualizing Mahayana and Shariputra. So sometimes as if thought arises in us, right? So when we focus on Buddha Shakyamuni itself, then Mahayana and Shariputra always with Buddha Shakyamuni, right? So it will be more beneficial to meditate two of them together with Buddha Shakyamuni. Again, this will change the number of your objects of observations, and we should, in general, it's good to visualize it. However, in the context of accomplishing karma abiding, you shouldn't change the number.
That's on you going to Changa. Or Sanjay Sali now to go in. Sanjay Sali now to go in. Chedar is on. But you know, Sanjay, you want to pay children. Then she needs to do Maria. This one is a digital lawyer. That's how they don't want to pay children.
Yeah. Sometimes as we focus on Buddha Shakyamuni, focus our mind on Buddha Shakyamuni, then sometimes some thoughts arise in us and thinking that it will be more beneficial to visualize 1002 Buddhas. Then the more I visualize, the more benefits, right? So sometimes thought will arise in us. However, this is not the original object of observations, and we shouldn't follow such thought. Otherwise, it will become obstacles to the concentrations. In general, it's good. However, in the context of accomplishing karma abiding or concentration, it will become an obstacle.
That Chiva Gondable Chua Tavishuna. Yeah, did I just draw your Marese? What's the Yonda? The Yonda, they got it. They got it in a day. Was Najichida, Sanji could have gone like Dubaina, as a Tamozashi, Chichu. Tamozashi, Pichuna Mazo, as she was a Gubaniga, Mayagi, the Shuji Lembu Shuji Reso, was a Tamozashi, Sanjiko. Hata Chetana, and that Gubani, the Juris, Haja Chundana, yeah, Shimali, the digging, watching you was serious. Jidang was a G channel, was Tamozashi, the Biji, Miti Sutuna. But that the Ashuji listen to so Jida, Sanji could Sanji could be but you soon with the Chishunda was a Tamozashi. Tamozashi has done Jelchina, the one legal matter, all my legal matter, our women, Kashi, Naga, Kashi, Nixamike, Kashi, Ningagate, Kashi, Tewa Kegal, or Samata, Susu, Anza Susu, Nibak, Karishuchina, the motion. Never they are going to see your money. They are never the Nagatera going to say never the Ninsataka going to be your money. That the Chiva indication of Tamo, Santi, good, Bondi, go, Shimika, ina. Or that the Santi could be changed going to teach us of the these only what did you write? Yeah, the Kusu Chamber to the Sigida Temple, Shivichi, Nanzo Division. Nanji was a Sanji to be changed race over what? And it was a Kimura. Kimushina. 或者以送当这里本地公园要买，另外一呢，呀新年公园了，呀打这个嘛的，这个我早你把它看你送的这个啊，送过来，我早你把的，是给我啥，多看的这里全部是送的呢，然后送给他看的，是吧？他用的我就听我这些，听我这些，另外一个技巧的也送，没对呢，也不听我这结果是了嘛的，对，我上去就你送这里看你送的，你的这个，是吧？
Yes. So, or you want to meditate on something big and something small appears. So in general, and again, this is indeterminate. And however, in general, and it is common to visualize the size of Buddha. To visualize Buddha in the size of a thumb, in the size of a thumb. So that is common to visualize in this size. So and the explanations of this is if you visualize Buddha's image in this size, the size of a thumb, then it has a difference in terms of preventing laxity and excitement from arising. So because if you were to visualize the image too big, then it has a danger it has a danger for the excitement to arise. And if you visualize too small, then again it has a danger for the laxity might arise. If you visualize too big, excitement might arise. If you visualize it too small, then laxity might arise. Then it will become an obstacle to your concentrations. So, however, even though it is common to visualize image in the size of a thumb, however, it is indeterminate. It doesn't mean that you must visualize Buddha's image in this size. So some you shouldn't change your original object of observation to anything other than that. So if you have visualized, for example, you have already started thumb abiding practice, and you have chosen the size bigger than thumb, then you should stick to the size that you have already determined, and you shouldn't change it after this. So some visualize a cubit, there's some visualize inch, for example. So however, you shouldn't change your original object to anything other than that until you achieve calm abiding or achieve concentration. So then again, this I will talk about it as well. So where to visualize the objects of refuge. So whether to visualize in the space before you, or to visualize on top of your crown, or in between your eyebrows, or at your heart, or at your navel. Then this I will talk about it later.
我的是这样的，他上去是位置多的，就是你现在上去位置多，来我解决不了嘛的，那个位置上去之多啊，第二个头部区上去的，我说忙个不，手机早手讲了呀，你说你上去位置多接码头的时候的，对，错的哦，对，人家不了，人讲了呀，你接图要嘛的时候，对，这那去休息呢，等你休息了是吧？
比起不知道这我这样，
大概不要嘛的时候，你去图要不是，但我也这个理由是吧？是吧？我是拿去，不过搞不得嘛，我这个当过这个呢，可惜的搞得下个人呢，上级位置都下个嘞，
可惜的我，
上级位置都下个，那就讲是别说，我搞嘛当不决定，等下是老啥嘞？
刚才的阿多的，
这个这就的，这地方。 这地方是我谁搞嘛定做过啊？啊嘛，这个呢，当不那个了啊。是我当不是这个了，去了那地方是我谁搞嘛是就是。我谁搞嘛？我谁不搞嘛？你夜郎看到再看到才知道。
我谁搞？
我谁不搞？我当我都是这样的嘛。这当不这样的。你的那个我是第一个那个我是当不人偷袭的，我他妈像是下过的。偷袭的上级我是多的也是我的。
Yeah, so and when we first studying debate, then we debate about colors. Yeah, so when we first enter into the debate courtyard, or when we we are the very first beginner. When we enter the debate courtyard, then we debate about colors, yellow, white, and etc. Then in debate, then when we need to proceed, what is the highest? Then we will proceed the pinnacle, the crown pinnacle of Buddha as the highest. We will proceed that as highest because when he once measured wanted to measure the height of the crown protrusions or crown pinnacle. Yeah. So crown protrusions. Then when Maukayana reaches the realms of the deity tree, then yet he couldn't see the peak of the crown protrusions. And even when he went to the mouse Meru, then he couldn't see the peak of the crown protrusions. So it's very difficult to measure the height crown protrusions of Buddha. So in debate class, and we usually say that that is the highest. So why I talk about the height, because here it says that to meditate on something big and something small appears, right? So when we talk about size, then the height also will become one of the, in debate, then it will become one of the topic. So yeah, so if you want to meditate on something big, and if something small appears, then you shouldn't follow that as well. Then if this happens, if inappropriate to pursue them, just make your original object, wherever it is, the object of attention. So in practicing the deity yoga of secret mantra, so you need to achieve clear appearance of the deity. So this is not in the context of accomplishing shamatha. So it talks about practicing the deity yoga itself. So in practicing the deity yoga of secret mantra, you need to achieve a clear appearance of the deity. So until that appears, you need to try to generate it by various means. So you should, put effort in generating the mental image, the image of the deity, a clear appearance of the deity. So you should put effort in generating a clear appearance of the deity. And however, if it is difficult and the deity's aspect doesn't appear, then you may also complete concentration by placing the mind and focusing on any one of the objects presented above. So since here it may this in these particular topics, the main purpose is to accomplish shamatha, right?
Oh yeah, that really is shouting.
So we'll stop here. If you have any questions, then you can ask now. So yeah, so we have some time for one or two questions. And if you have questions, then you can ask now. If you don't have, then we will end here. And next, I'm going to talk about next class. I'm going to talk about how to direct the mind toward it. Please read before next class.
Yeah. Jaya, go first.
Geshe-la, I just want to ask you. I was reading Pabukar Rinpoche's Liberation, the Power of the Hand. When it comes to the Buddha image, I think it was mentioned that it is good to visualize the Buddha image in the Lama Tsongkhapa tradition. I could not find any other description of what Lama Tsongkhapa's tradition is. Is that particular kind of image that we should look at, or is it okay to just go with any image that one has chosen if one has already started the practice? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, ini di nam do la jang nang lo la, babong ga rinpoche nam do la jang nang lo la is di ke song adu di shiri ku di mi pa di chi ka la ini yang di Lama Tsongkhapa ki lu ge di shiri ku di mi pa chi wo re ini yang di ce je ini yang di number di kari mi nge di se ne ra ma song ini Lama Tsongkhapa ki lu ge di shiri ku de la mi ba chi ores di nam do la jang nang lo la den de xie song di ya ga ores di mi ba chi na ya bo ores ini Lama Tsongkhapa ki lu ki de xie be ku de nam ba de pare de mi ngi che ne ra ma song de sang ini yang zu ji zang zhe dan da de chi be ku de la mi ba chi a de yang mi se ji nam ba de yo na yang na那恰恰那的新的新的可是公面的国主操啊，那那样的啊的我们那地有那，
근데
那地有啊，
공고래. 아마 여기 보고. 근데 중간밖에 누가 되게 대중간밖에 이런 거 지금 와서 비송다 근데 그거 좋아. 그게 인디고 들리지라. 생각하는 게 인디고 성도하는 거 좀 봐. 미국 성바이나 그것도 세나 사야 돼. 지금 뭐지 진짜 최초 뭐지 소가. 근데 소가.
양지 단기 뱀베 고대로
뭐 때문에 그잖아. 집어를 하다. 맞아. 니 두네 미국 때서래. 뱀비고 들리지라 두바이나 다때 그러니까 니가 해야다 가서 틀에 야르스 때 지금 어떤 대신 뭐 배워서 돼. 좋아. 대소가 송가버게 임국고 아직 들리게 말다. 이렇게 얘기 시고 말해.
맞아.
대소가. 그럼 질 뭐지 간다. 내가 저 임국고라 바이나 이 배신이 도야라페 다 저는 비초 사야다. 그때 소신 저는 사비 소신 치빠진 도야다. 디바 정비 소신 디베 상황상사 그래다 그래서 창사 고치로 그래서 들어와 하이네죠 뭐야 이제 레오데 되게 치와 그 치와 제스는 뭐 처음에 이유다 가지 지금 뭐서 비송고 다 진짜 먹고 싶어서 돼 이리 와서 지금 뒤에 송고가 나 저를 상황상 송고요
양这招咪把人的招年的叫大有嘛咯，양지 담와이나 양지 니에 차네 양的叫大有嘛咯，
나 소신하고도 빈두고다 있으나 야로 예스디 예송고다 이게 뭐
Yeah, so what Pabongka Rinpoche says in Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, that according to, so you should visualize Tathagata's body according to Lama Tsongkhapa traditions. Then this is what it says in what we have just discussed. So Tathagata's body here refers to Buddha Shakyamuni's body. Then Buddha Shakyamuni is one image only, has one image, and it doesn't mean that visualize Tathagata's body according to Lama Tsongkhapa's traditions, meaning that there is another aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni. So there is only one Buddha Shakyamuni, and how should you visualize on Buddha Shakyamuni or Tathagata's body is as Lama Tsongkhapa's mentioned here in this particular context in Lam Rim. So how one should visualize that, for example. And if you visualize so, then the benefits, one will the sensitive marriage and the purification practice and etc. And even in the Tantra practice, then it is essential in Tantra practice as well. So it doesn't mean that it has another aspect. So there's only Buddha Shakyamuni has one aspect, and you should focus so, and according to what Lama Tsongkhapa explained here in Lam Rim.
This is what people also you could lumako never should say as a beautiful so that what this one do so regazo meje bonga gazo ano de shini duela miti de jiru which is so na shin so sanchi kanda people la mi wina adele yaze ha da kanda yo de jinse da chishi mo so sa so da ibe ko jinse zo mo so sa so wa wo di so da mi ti so ana jiku da lumalo so baby never should say as that 이런 거지. 대화로 비슷하죠. 사실은.
Yeah, so Papaga Rinpoche says in Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, saying that one should look for an object. One should visualize on the Buddha Shakyamuni or Tathagata's body as what Lama Tsongkhapa has said. Like it says here, first find a good painted image, statue, or the like of the teacher's body, Buddha Shakyamuni or teacher's body. And then so here also talks about the purposes of doing so, and then also quoted many texts to support this point. And so to support this point. So if one has already chosen an object, then one shouldn't change the original object.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Ken.
Geshe-la, on this last statement, victim here, when one has chosen the object, such as Buddha's image, since there are many types of Buddha image painted by various skillful artists, a statue or tanka, at what stage this statement said one had chosen, let's say I had chosen the Buddha image of Bodh Gaya temple, then I meditate, but at what stage I feel that I need to change because due to some reason, I just can't bring my concentration to that. So at what stage this statement one has chosen indicate?
When I check on so the mi ba de na so the shine to abadu ni di yo wa ina pena check on kasa pokaya chudi nang lo la de tempe ku ji wa tempe ku de dang bo de dam je ini de la mi ne sim di ma tu ba kasa de ding jin de gong ma tu ba ini di nga su wo tang na ji ge bes de ka la ya na de nga su dam wa na
Dio party o mari ngato. Dela kanda mine susu ji sarwa. Tu chade kanda cheda ngaso. Yabu duwa de da du ursi gore. Ye.
좀 차는 나.
다 신에 두 요로와. 그 tembe ku da tembe ku da mine ngato 신에 두 요래. 수도 신에 yabu da du ursi gore. 그래서 다 두다고 지 빼셔봐야 다와 두 딘다고 지 제나고 더봐야 추는 두 마도 같은 식으로다. 스스로 나지게 미바 차 되거든요. 차 되고 나지게 용달을 스스로 미바 가르쳐 되거든요. 에트리지래야 제네다 싫어 싸바지 땅고 주가다 차고. 지네들야 싸만도 없이. 내가 저때 뭐다 그래서 싸바라고 차고야 돼. 생각도 두시 미바 지야요 마시고로 와. 앞에 두야 돼 상샤사한테. 그때 상샤자는 배치로 신나야 싸바.
양자 고주야.
양자 고주야라고 차고. 안장 고츠바이나 다스도 나지 베세나 차디와 그것도 너 가지고 되기라서 다 비시 차고래 어디에 당가서 마두미랑 가서 뛰고 당마 디 이사디야 마두미라도 다 제모 먹고 제쇼로 마두미라 어디 빠쳐야 돼 가리야 제모 먹고 제쇼로 되다
So until you achieve calm abiding, then you shouldn't change your objects of observation, meaning that when it says in the text that if one practice well, then one can achieve calm abiding in 6 or 7 months. So, however, if you're unable to achieve calm abiding or you're unable to develop concentration in relation to the objects that you have chosen, then you can change the objects of observation. So you don't change your objects of observation. You don't change unless you should put effort in the object of in observing the object of observation, the chosen one. And if you are unable to develop any concentration in relation to which, then only you change your objects of observations. Then you choose something that can easily appear in your mind. Then you start your concentration practice over again in relation to the new object. So this also there is a story about this. There was one herdsman. Herdsman then he wanted to accomplish calm abiding by visualizing or observing Buddha's body or teacher's body. So he put efforts and put times in visualizing it and trying to develop concentration. However, after some time, then he still couldn't develop any concentrations. And after that, then there was a Lama who advised him. So since you are a herdsman, then you choose an object that could appear easily in your mind. Then this herdsman chose the cow's horn. Yeah, then and visualize, choose that, change the objects of observation to the cow's horn, then observe it, then he develop concentration.
This is a chat you get.
So I will stop you if you have any questions, and you can ask in the coming days.
Maybe next class, Geshe-la can guide us on practical tips of identifying object of meditation so we don't waste time. From Geshe-la experience, the tips of identifying something that is suitable or a simpler one. Next class, Geshe-la share with us the tips to choose a proper object of meditation on Buddha image.
呢啲這一節嘛啦，呢樣其實啦，佢因任用嘅可能，當初啦立真啦，呢樣就啲咪不單係啦，呢樣啲變下查實啦，呢樣做啦，查撈啊，變咗，樣咪不啲單啦，呢啲查撈啊，有啲呢啲樣立真就會呢樣啲啲立真啦，呢啲樣啦。Yeah, 其實啦，OK。
然后这个做的那个几点吧，就把那多就，实际上我就不做，跟你今天到么时间，我是问对吧？那个不是现在我们修复的结果的，爸爸的我讲那个的爸爸就这件我是我们不什么有时候那对吧？那个这样是我们有的可能，我经常希望的确实我们需要有个钱，看到马主的等等，马主的你也说把你都多少趟，你星期七零的现在吃过，他们是把他们上去我们有的多呀。如果年头了，真的看到如果今年没晓得，明白的，跟住做的如果今年看，那可能参谋吧，谁的年龄对去开始做的，不上去不会有的多，对不对？很早你了，是电影嘛，我都是很非常买真是。
Yeah, we conclude with dedication. We dedicate the roots of virtue accumulated, especially through these Dharma lessons. We dedicate these roots of virtue to the Buddha Dharma and for all to all sentient beings. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teachings, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May they live eons long with good health, and may their enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously and spread in all directions. And in particular, we dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Kapsel Lama Zopa Rinpoche. May Rinpoche's holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously, and may the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche be swiftly returned and continue to turn the wheel of Dharma for the sake of teachings and for the sake of Dharma and for the sake of teachings, so that we will have the opportunity to receive from Rinpoche again. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace, and may excellent happiness prevail in the world. May pandemic, wars, conflict, disaster, natural disaster be pacified immediately. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who suffer and those who pass away. May their activities be pacified immediately and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who help others, such as those who help others financially. May their life be filled with excellent happiness. May their good wishes be accomplished, and may they quickly achieve the state of enlightenment.
Sabe ke wa de ten dang do wa kun la kan be na ke ba chi zu lo san da ba yi ke yi mo ring do se je ju chen ju se jo ren mo je ma ke fa na ji gyu ji ki ba nya ma me ba yang kon de kon do be wa ju jang be pa we ji da ken ba na sa mo de yang de jin de de da ku ke je so da ho je ki ma ke da dang je ra do mo tong gi da wa ren mo je ma ke fa na ji gyu ji ki ba nya ma me sa yang kon do be wa ju 说日别到我人不接马铁方能去有几结果娘把面把阳过列公多没话说，一切生多绝别让其铁是在看见点对跟看那被莫听见个做拉说话的说点点的就说，看的边的马驴吧，看的就为上面一些喏，不给出面点这个做拉说话的说对些的就说，跟把这些年让做路上叫我要是就把这段上去给有马驴呗，点点没把就点了这无所谓，这点人不接些当主呗，这边话了那样没是别国家的，是没接这让他说话的。并且马对就会靠前部给为领导马就多啊，一直到记住这把这边我都不希望是自己的帮，这种条子勤劳当天在当地别老不见，越对对要个上这种电商对这边都有些说，要为公为新港那边当天往马里就为那这为什么电视该作为消费时间把都定就去。